small inside here, but I'm going through some tricky traffic. Not that really that tricky. So the small insight is, look, I've been doing all this stuff with the black community recently, and it's been really interesting to me. I've been learning about the black history, black culture, because I live in this whole Fourth Ward where Martin Luther King grew up and all this stuff, and it interests me. I'm curious about Martin Luther King. He inspires me as a figure and as a visionary and as someone who stood up for what he believed in, right? That inspires me a lot. Wow, the dude was just about to walk out in front of me. Right? Okay, so it's very inspirational for me. So he's a very important person in my life, and I live like right next door to where he grew up, right? There's Martin Luther King everywhere around here. So, I'm sorry about that. So, I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking about the event I went to the other day at the MLK Center. We had a community roundtable discussion. A lot of people. It was majority black people in attendance, and it was very interesting to hear their perspective because I don't hear that every day. Just like in a big roundtable discussion like that, I don't hear that every day with people of. I don't have a community, right? So that's what I'm realizing. They have a community, the black community, right? Which is amazing because they have a culture and it's rich, right? And the white people don't have really that, not really that much, right? So that we don't know how to do that, but they do, right? And so we have a lot to learn actually from the black community. I just realized like how much they have, how much wisdom, knowledge, and experience they have making communities. Even, right, I'm going way far back and people will probably think this is weird or whatever, but even like, their ancestors, and I'm not saying they're all ancestor in Africa, right, but, in Africa, like their roots, like the race history of the black people descending from Africa, right, is a tribal root system, right? They have that tribal bond in their roots, right? Whereas the Europeans did not have tribes that recently, right? So the race history of the black community maintains that close-knit tribes, and that's interesting. And you see that in different ways, like this MLK Center here, and the black community comes together to support each other and to try to grow and progress and solve these issues. And that's how Martin Luther King was able to pull this stuff together to begin with. And you had the Black Panthers and all that stuff in opposition to, not opposition, but not exactly aligning with MLK, but just demonstrating that there was even more support that was not channeled through the MLK route or whatever. So it's very interesting to think about what it means to have that community there, why it's there, why it doesn't exist for the non-black community, how it exists for all these different people, ethnic identities, racial identities, and we think of stereotypes and we think of racism and stuff like that. We don't want to think of the black people or the white people or the Hispanic people or this and that. But then, to be honest, like not realizing the power of ethnic identity is detrimental to our understanding of how humans interact. The thing is, white people tend to hang out with white people, black people tend to hang out with black people, Hispanic people tend to hang out with Hispanic people. That doesn't mean that those are their only friends. That just means that those are their family and their family's family, right? And so those are the people they have around them, and those are the people they're comfortable with and used to. Now, they learn a lot more when they're exposed to other cultures and other people with other viewpoints, and that's great, right? It's not necessary for them to live necessarily, but maybe for them to be a well-rounded person, that helps a lot, But there is something special about cultural identity, one's racial and cultural identity, and that creates a bond between people that we don't quite understand. And now we talk about, if you think about this bond that people have and then you identify with it, it's like, now are you a racist? Or I don't know, are you like, it's hard to understand that relationship now in this politically correct climate that we have, which is a little bit sad, which is good too, because that means we're thinking about it, because obviously in the past we did not have very good definitions. The thing is, we need to embrace how we're both the same and unique, right? We're all humans, but yet we all have different parameters about us, and that makes us interesting, and we have different connections and relations with other people that have different parameters about them too. And so all these things should be studied and should be documented about how they naturally occur, how we can mix them to change them, and how the co-interactions affect the overall system. And it should be a science, not like a politically correct, impolitically correct thing. Not about that, right? This is about science. Who cares whether it's politically correct? Let's just talk about the science of the matter so that nobody gets offended, right? Because it's just the truth, you know? It doesn't matter whether people like it or not. Sometimes the truth is ugly. Sometimes it is not what you expected. Sometimes the truth is not nice to hear for everybody. And sometimes people think that their truth was better than your truth, and then they get real mad when they hear a truth that disproves their worldview about how they're better than other people. Because they're not better than other people. Nobody's better than anybody else. That's how the universe works. Every one part is equally as important as all the other parts. Even a little, little as consciousness has its role to play. Little as ant, That's what the butterfly effect is. All these small interactions having humongous implications down the road, right? But now we're starting to chart those small interactions and note how these small fluctuations from individuals in the overall system have large implications overall. So that's why we have to respect each human as having the power and the potential to change the entire world. Every single person. When you look through history, all the big movements, all the big changes in history were spurred on by one person, right? A visionary with support group. That's how it happens. It doesn't happen through some other process that's mysterious. One guy, right, is really committed to these ideas and knows he's right because he is right, right? And because they do work better than the existing ideas somehow or another. And the ones that are true and that have the right timing and the right execution are the ones that make history. And that's what we're trying to do here. But we need help, right? We're trying to get that support. We have the ideas, we have the theory, we're trying to get the support. That's where, you guys come in. So think about that. Reflect on that. Reflect on that. What do you think about that?